Hey guys, it's Cameron for the season finale of Celebrity Big Brother Season 1, Episode 13, and as you guys know, I was very on the fence about this finale, especially given the way the season's been. I've liked the breakneck pace, but the fact that we had a Final 5, and, it's the finale, and we still have a Final 5, and there was so much left to do, I just did not see how this finale could be have any sort of cohesion, be as fluid, move as, I think, swiftly as, last year's finale, because last year's finale was, I think, as good as a Big Brother finale can get, really, especially in the past several years. The finale usually isn't one of the high points for the show, so, the fact that the finale was really good last year, that really did surprise me. But I really didn't know how this was going to turn out, and I will say, this was okay. This was an okay finish. I did not think this was an amazing finale or anything like that, but it was okay. We'll talk about the outcome, because the outcome really was probably the worst possible outcome we could have gotten, but we're just getting into it right now. So the first thing I really want to talk about is the structure of this finale, because obviously going into it, that was the thing I was most worried about, and I will admit, I did think they moved through this a little bit better than I expected to, and I did think that they handled it right. The only thing is, once again, this 2-hour finale, the first half felt like a, Sunday episode. It did not feel like part of the finale. It was weird to see them play in HOH and have Omarosa sitting out. It was weird to have a POV, it was just strange. It was very strange to have that overall. It was weird to have an eviction on finale night. It was just something different. I get it that they kind of ran out of time and they were trying to do something different, but I don't know if it 100% worked. I did like the way that this was handled. Ross does, of course, end up winning the second to last HOH, and it's a no-brainer. He obviously wants to take out Omarosa, who I pretty much have thought has been dead of the water for a while, but the fact that she's been able to stick around for this long, that is an achievement for sure. I mean, Omarosa is someone who I've said so many times is one of those, house guests where it's like, why is she still here? Why didn't they get her out? But, no matter what happened, there was just always a bigger target. And after a while, they knew Omarosa really wanted to win. And Ross, I guess, decided to forego his deal with Omarosa, because remember, Omarosa tried to strategize with him, and he clearly was not into that, so he basically decides to send her out. I was really not surprised about this at all, that Omarosa is the person to leave. This really did not surprise me. Do I think it was the right choice? Yes. Yes and no, I will say that. I think she would have stuck to her word, and she would have definitely kept Ross. I think, that was a deal that she was willing to agree to. I think definitely she was down for that for the most part. But do I think that Ross made the best decision in deciding to evict her? I'm not entirely sure about that. We'll talk about the way this does go down afterwards, but like I said, this first half felt like an eviction episode. It was very strange overall. It was good to have an episode where we didn't see political talk with Omarosa. I did think that was good. Like, she obviously talked about how we can help, we can turn the nation around and things like that, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. What I did have a problem with this season is just, it got really excessive. It seemed like they were, again, just doing it because of the ratings and because the fact that they were making all these national headlines, which is great, but it just got really excessive after a while, so I'm glad they did kind of back off a little with that, because it was, like I said, bothering me a bit, but that's really how the first half of the episode plays out. But of course, now we get to what you guys really want me to talk about, which is the actual ending. Because how did this happen, honestly? I don't know how what actually happened went down. I still can't believe it actually happened the way it did. But we get to the final HOH, and Marissa is killing it. Like, she completely destroyed everyone in this final HOH, and I have no idea where this Marissa came from. I mean, Marissa all season has been the one person who I've said is completely undeserving of this win. She's not there to play a game. She's just there going based on her emotions. But I gotta say, she really did kill it in this final HOH, so kudos to her for doing that. I definitely will give her credit there. I did think she did a good job. This was a weird HOH, I definitely will say that. Now, I get it that obviously they were doing what they could because they couldn't really do physical challenges in the event that Omarosa was there. They were trying to help her asthma and whatnot. I totally understand that. But let's not do this again. This whole HOH where it was basically like people texting to each other, it was a cool concept because, you know, we haven't really seen, obviously they were able to get out of the house and they were able to text each other, but I just thought it was kind of dumb. It was really long and drawn out, and I think they really could have spent a little less time on this final HOH, especially because some stuff towards the end was a little bit rushed. But like I said, Marissa does end up winning this final HOH, and I was very surprised. I was very surprised she ended up winning. I thought for sure Ross or Ari would win, but Ari and Mark surprisingly did not do very well at all here. They really seemed kind of stumped. They really didn't know. I mean, for a while, it seemed like everyone was doing pretty well, but especially with that veto, they really weren't doing well at all. But Marissa does end up, like I said, winning this final HOH. We then get to the, you know, the part where she has to decide who she wants to take, and I did like the way this was done, that like two people end up leaving. I thought that did make the most sense for them to do that. To me, it just felt like they could have easily just put this in the Saturday episode and it would have been fine. Like, they could have put that Omarosa eviction in there, and I think the finale still would have gone just as, basically played out basically just the same as it did here. I don't think really much would have changed, but she does end up actually taking Ross to the finale, and at this point, I'm like, what are you doing, Marissa? This is a horrible move on your part. Ross is the one person that was never going to take you. He is going to destroy you in this, you know, final jury questioning. You know, there's, like, no way she's going to win. There's, like, no way at all. Everyone was comparing it to what Cody did with Derek in Big Brother 16, and yeah, this was very similar. She only took Ross because he was her ride or die. Keep that in mind. That was her only reasoning for doing that. Oh, he's my ride or die, I gotta take him. That's not necessarily true. The problem with these ride or dies is that they feel like that means, oh, I have to take them to the end, when that's not actually true. You need to pull like a Steve and send the person out that is you know, stopping your game and is holding you back from, you know, getting that 250. You know, that's really what you need to be doing, and that's, Marissa did not really seem like she understood that. A lot of the house guests didn't really seem to understand that. But like I said, she ends up taking Ross. I was very surprised with this, and we'll get to her final win now. But first, I really do want to talk about the jury, because this jury in general, I gotta be honest, I was really disappointed. I really was. I expected a lot more from this jury, and look, am I surprised that we got a bitter jury? No. What I am surprised about is the way in which they evaluated the gameplay here, because this was pretty much 100% based on emotions, and basically who felt hurt the least and who was the one who hurt them. Like, I noticed the one constant is that everyone was talking about, oh, who played the cleanest game? Who, you know, who is the person that hurt me the less? And I'm sorry, but, you know, this Big Brother 19, that I can understand. You know, they were all savages and they, you know, we're ganging up on them with all this hate speech. That's different. This season, though, was not nearly as bad. I mean, this was definitely not the equivalent of Big Brother 19. And all these celebrities are just used to everyone being nice to them, but they just seemed really butthurt. And to me, personally, I think this is one of the most disappointing juries in a while. I was really let down by this jury, especially Shannon. Look, I have praised Shannon, you know, since the beginning of this season, but she really let me down here. To me, Shannon just seems like someone who is the definition of a sore loser. She wanted to do better in this game. You know, she can't fathom the idea that Ross and Marissa are still in the house. She thinks that they should be gone. She wishes that she was still there, and because of that, she just can't get over the fact of what really let down. Now, yes, you can make the argument that Ross did not handle himself well, which I will agree with that. I think lying to Shannon and not telling her the truth, that definitely was not the right way to go about it, that is for sure. But I think Shannon, especially someone who is a super fan, should realize that it is a game and that, you know, there are going to be some big decisions that happen and they're not always in your favor. So I was really surprised, of all people, that Shannon would be this upset about it. And I really did not buy that Shannon was, as angered as she was. Again, it just did not seem like something that Shannon would really do. But like I said, this jury, they voted 100% pretty much based on emotion, and it's not necessarily a bad way to look at the game, but it just takes all the interesting and strategic stuff out of it. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is because of the fact that they didn't meet prior to this. They didn't meet prior to this, so they weren't able to make an executive decision. They came up with their own questions. You know, there wasn't like a Dr. Will thing where he was like doing the round table. They didn't do that this time around. And usually I don't like Dr. Will. I think it's unnecessary, and I think it's pathetic that they actually need a mediator in there. Now, I understand, obviously, it's because of Big Brother 14, because of the fact that it was a bitter jury. But that's why we put Dr. Will in there. We put him in there because he's supposed to keep them from being bitter. And this jury, I thought, was unnecessarily bitter. I did not understand the reason for them being so against Ross, and especially when it comes to Marissa, because the only reason it seemed like they were so against Ross, but they kind of gave Marissa a free pass, is because Marissa could not come up with a single decision that she made on her own. She basically just followed Ross's rules, and for some reason, that just makes her, I guess, you know, better than Ross for some reason. Like, that just shows she played a cleaner game, and I don't really understand that. These two were pretty much working in unison throughout the entire game, and I don't really get why stuff that Ross did, Marissa was basically absolved of. I don't really understand that. It doesn't make much sense to me at all, and like I said, this jury easily is one of the most disappointing in a while. There were some highlights. Like, I really did like seeing Brandi's goodbye message to James. That was a lot of fun to watch. I like seeing Metta vote with his eyes closed. That was honestly hilarious. And the fact that Julie couldn't stop him from doing, like, even though she told him, this is how it works, this is what you have to do, he still was like, fuck authority, and he decided to go against her. That's been Metta all season long. He has not at all been... You know, he has been so against what, you know, authority and the producers and just anyone who tells him what to do. He will do the complete opposite, and that's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, Metta is one of the best and worst, simultaneously one of the best and worst house guests of all time. I mean, strategically, he's awful. He really is. But he's the best in the sense where he was so unpredictable and so fun to watch that you really never knew where he was coming from. And like I said, because of that, he was just a lot of fun to watch. So for me, I did like seeing Metta once again go against the grain. You know, that's something that I don't think any of us were surprised about. It was definitely fun to watch, and definitely was one of the highlights for me for sure. And again, there were for sure highlights in here, and I really did enjoy them. But just for me personally, I thought the jury in general really was quite lackluster, especially in a season where we had some really strong players. The fact that the jury is one of the more disappointing ones, I think definitely was a big surprise for sure. But with that all said, let's just get into Ross and Marissa's final two speeches overall, because I really want to get into, you know, evaluating what they said, you know, what worked for them, what didn't. Because first, let's talk about Marissa, because of course, for me, as I said, I think Marissa was the person that had the least likely outcome. I thought there was, like, no way that she could win this game. And of course, you know, we'll get to that in a little bit, but what she really said here, I don't know why this, you know, spoke well to the jury, because really all she said to me is that, oh, I did this for Ross. Ross told me to do it and I did it. You know, this was all for Ross. I went to the final two because of Ross. He was my ride or die. She could not name a single thing that she did without the encouragement and, you know, without going to Ross first. There was not a single thing that she did on her own, and like I said, I think this in general should have cost her the game, because normally when you're in a final two and someone says that I did nothing, that usually means that you're not going to win, because you can't name a single thing that you did on your own. You had no agency in that way. Ross had tons of agency, and I think he did a really good job with exhibiting that here. The problem with Ross is what's very similar to Paul, is the fact that he simply could not own up to his actions. And sure, maybe it wasn't as, I'd say, volatile as Paul, and maybe he did handle himself a little bit better than Paul did, but again, you know, the common sort of, you know, I think the common problem between these two, where they both, you know, are very similar, is the sense that they constantly had to justify why they did things. Oh, I did this because of this, you know, for this reason, and it just, it did not seem like Ross in general, was playing this game in a way where, he was playing this as a normal season. The problem with that is that this wasn't like a normal season. A normal season, the jury are sequestered and they don't see the footage. They only see what's sent to them. So they don't really know everything that's going on. When they're at home, though, they have free reign to basically watch whatever they want. So anything that Ross had said to them that wasn't true, they would know specifically was not true. So Ross really did not do a good job handling himself, and I don't think he had particularly very good jury management. I think that is ultimately what did cost his game. When it really does come down to, though, I think honestly both of them gave some really poor final two speeches. The speech that Ross gave just came across as, oh, I'm a super fan, this is why you should, pick me. Marissa, it just seemed like, oh, I love my family, I've tried to do all these great things, this is why you should pick me. Neither of them, I think, really had that great of a speech, and, again, I think it was just very surprising with what the final outcome really was. So with everything out of the way, let's just get into what actually does go down. We get to the ending, and it turns out somehow Marissa actually does beat Ross. I know, I can't believe it either, but Marissa Jaret Winokur is the first winner of Celebrity Big Brother, and yeah, so that happened. I was very surprised about it. It's cool that she was with her son or whatever, and that, her son wanted her to play, and that she kind of did it for him. That's really cool to see. But then we get to the thing I think that's most baffling of it all, because Marissa winning, yeah, that definitely is weird. I don't think that's anything anyone could have predicted. The most baffling thing, though, is who won America's Favorite Player, because I thought for sure this was going to be either Shannon or James, maybe even Brandi could have been on there. Turns out the top three were Shannon, James, and Ross for some reason, and not only that, Ross ends up winning America's Favorite Player, and I have no idea how this happened, because as far as I am aware, and I could be wrong about this, but as far as I can tell, since I've watched Big Brother, one of the biggest things with this, title is that it's given to someone who wasn't in the final two. So if they were in the final two, they did not qualify for this. There was no way that they could possibly get, there was no way you could possibly vote for them because they did not qualify. Now, I don't know if they changed this because it was a limited amount for Celebrity Big Brother, but the fact that Ross won is quite baffling to me. I don't really know how this happened, and I don't dislike Ross. I think he was entertaining enough in the diary room and things like that, but just the fact that out of everyone, Ross, really, it doesn't seem right. It seems like, to me, it just seemed like that they wanted Ross to win, and they gave him this title, and again, it just does not make a ton of sense. I don't understand, maybe they changed the rules, but they just should have been more clear about it, because it doesn't make sense to me how all of these seasons, it's always been anyone not in the final two, and now Celebrity Big Brother was for some reason foregoing that. It just does not make a ton of sense. I don't really know what they were thinking there, and, overall, I was just very perplexed with how that all worked out in the end. But now, guys, I do want to talk about this season overall, because besides that really lackluster win, which, again, I've gone on enough about how I think Marissa was the least likely winner, and I think she really was the least deserving here. I really can't pinpoint one specific thing that she did that really gave her that win. To me, she just played the safest game possible, and that's never a good reason to win Big Brother. You should never go into Big Brother to play a safe game. You should do a dirty game. You really should play a dirty game. You should play a game that, gets you that win. You should play a game that gets everyone on your side, while at the same time getting out those necessary targets. And for me, Marissa was the complete opposite of that. She was always about, let's just take the easy way out. Let's just do what America would want us to do. It never really seemed like she was thinking strategically. And I think in that regard, there was no reason why she should have won the game, other than the fact that the jury was extremely bitter. But again, that aside, this was a pretty good season. I will definitely say that. I did enjoy this season much more than most, especially compared to the previous seasons of Big Brother we've had, that is for sure. What I think really helped this season is, one, it was a lot more faster. It was a lot, faster than other seasons were. Most times we're like, why can't this end? Why is this still going on? Let's just end the season. This year was the opposite. It was, why is this going by so fast? I want to see more. And that's not something you usually hear me say. And the fact that I wanted to see more, I think that alone is enough of a reason to, praise this season and say this was overall a really good season. But also, we did have a cast that, for the most part, knew the game. And sure, maybe they weren't the best players, but they wanted to play. They weren't there for exposure. They weren't there for just, dumb reasons like, oh, I'm just here to be on a TV show. I'm just here because I want the money. They were here because they wanted to play the game, and that's something that I always am very welcome to see. And that's something we don't really see a lot on Big Brother. And what I really did love about the season, that sure, for the most of the season, Marissa and Ross were kind of dominating the house, but it's not like the other house guests were just sitting around and letting them do it. I mean, Brandi and Ari, they were, they had a hand in a lot of the decision-making for Marissa and Ross. In fact, they kind of got into Ross's head a bit. James and Mark, they tried to play. They really started something. Omarosa tried. Shannon tried. Maybe they didn't succeed, but at least they did try. And I'm gonna, I'm going to agree with what Rob Has a Podcast said. If you guys don't watch Rob Has a Podcast, they're one of the best, I think, podcasts around when it comes to Big Brother. You should definitely check them out for sure. But what they basically said is that I would rather see, bad players try to play the game than have just floaters that just sit around and let everyone else do the dirty work. I don't really want to see that, and I was glad to see that we had a season in which pretty much everyone wanted to play the game. That was something I definitely did enjoy seeing. Sure, we had some players that clearly weren't up to the task, like Metta and Keshia, but they weren't bad. Like, they weren't annoying. It was just more like, okay, why were you here? Metta, it was fun to watch. Keshia, it was just kind of came out of nowhere. But again, it wasn't like Big Brother 19 or Big Brother 18 where everyone was unlikable. This cast was still likable. Even someone like those two were still likable enough where I kind of able to understand why they need to leave the game. I totally do get that. Moving forward, do I think they're going to do this again? Yeah, I do think they're going to do this again, but I think they need to do two things if they are going to do this again, because I do have some complaints with this season. One, it was way too fast. It was way too fast. I get they wanted to do 13 episodes, but what they should have done is, one, no more Monday evictions, please. Monday evictions, they're not doing you any good. They're not really eventful whatsoever. They were probably two of the most disappointing episodes this year, so please, no more Monday evictions. Just not a good idea in any sense of the word. Two, I really think that we need to increase the amount of episodes. 13 episodes is fine, but there just was too much game left to play. And because of that, it did feel like the last few episodes were quite rushed. Episode 12 was just, your regular clip show. I think we really could have spent that time to evict Omarosa. And then episode 13, we would have had the final four, and we would have been able to spend a lot more time on things that they really didn't, in this 2-hour finale, and I think that's something that they really do need to think about. Also, make sure that you have, in my opinion, I think the season should have only had about 8 or 9 players, not 11, because again, 11 just in general was simply too much, and we could tell that they just did not have enough time to do everything they wanted to do. And again, that's not really their fault. It's more just the time frame of whoever set this up. It just did not work out overall, so I do think they really need to get a few less players next season. Just limit them a little bit, and I think that'll be fine. But other than that, I really enjoyed this season. This was definitely a lot more enjoyable than the other seasons have been, for sure. It's the most I've enjoyed Big Brother probably since Big Brother 17. I know that's not the greatest season or anything like that, but that had a very enjoyable cast that maybe weren't the best players, but for the most part did want to play. That's very similar to this season. These players were game. They wanted to play, and I really like seeing that. I like seeing them play. Obviously, one of the things that did frustrate me is that they couldn't really stick to anything. There was no sort of, no one could really settle on anything, and it always seemed like they were deviating from their alliance. They would set these things up, and they just could not maintain them, and that definitely did bother me a little bit. But other than that, like I said, I really did enjoy this season. I thought this was definitely very solid overall. And when it really does come down to, guys, I am going to give the first season of Celebrity Big Brother overall a B. So with that, guys, Celebrity Big Brother is now over. I honestly can't believe it. I feel like the season has really flown by. And again, that's not something you hear me say a lot when it comes to Big Brother. So just the fact that I am, kind of upset that the season's over and wish it would keep going, that alone is enough of a reason for me to say, yeah, this season was pretty good. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video. Let me know what you guys thought of the season overall. Left your thoughts in it. Do you think they should do another season Celebrity Big Brother? Do you like these shorter amount of episodes? Do you think it benefited the season? Do you not think it benefited the season? And what do you think they should improve on next season? Do you guys agree with me or not? Just tell me anything you want to know. I really love talking about Big Brother with you guys. But thank you guys for watching my reviews all season. Definitely really do appreciate that. I do look forward to reviewing Big Brother 20 later in the summer. Am I optimistic about it? No. I feel like it's, at this point, it's going to be similar to Big Brother 19. And the other thing I am worried about when it comes to, Big Brother from now on is that because of Marissa winning, everyone's going to think they need to play this safe, clean game when that's not really the case. I mean, that's not, in my opinion, maybe, sure, it might get them the win, but it's just not very fun to watch, and it's just not that great of a player, in my opinion, and I really hope that doesn't become, like, the precedent of, Big Brother from now on. I'm hoping that's not what ends up happening now, but that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.